The People's Army of Vietnam added in yellow at the top left. During the French Indochina War, this allowed writers, the US military, and the general public to distinguish Northern Communists from the Southern Communists, called Viet Cong or National Liberation Front. However, both groups ultimately worked under the same command structure. The Viet Cong had its own military called the Liberation Army of South Vietnam. It was considered a branch of the PAVN by the North Vietnamese. In 2010, the PAVN undertook the role of leading the 1000th anniversary parade in Hanoi by performing their biggest parade in history. The first historical record of Vietnamese military history dates back to the era of Hong Bang, the first recorded state in ancient Vietnam to have assembled military force. Since then, military plays a crucial role in developing Vietnamese history due to its turbulent history of wars against China, Champa, Cambodia, Laos and Thailand. The southern expansion of Vietnam resulted in the destruction of Champa as an independent nation to a level that it did not exist anymore. Total destruction of Luang Prabang. The decline of Cambodia, which resulted in Vietnam's annexation of Mekong Delta and wars against Siam. In most of its history, the Royal Vietnamese Armed Forces was often regarded to be one of the most professional, battle-hardened and heavily trained armies in Southeast Asia as well as Asia in a large extent. The PAVN was first conceived in September 1944 at the First Revolutionary Party Military Conference as Vietnam Propaganda Liberation Army to educate, recruit and mobilize the Vietnamese to create a main force to drive the French colonial and Japanese occupiers from Vietnam. Under the guidelines of Ho Chi Minh, Vo Nguyen Giap was given the task of establishing the brigades, and the Vietnam Propaganda Liberation Army came into existence on the 22nd of December 1944. The first formation was made up of 31 men and 3 women, armed with 2 revolvers, 17 rifles, 1 light machine gun, and 14 breech-loading flintlocks. The United States' OSS agents, led by Archimedes Patti, who was sometimes referred as the first instructor of the PAVN due to his role, had provided ammunitions as well as logistic intelligence and equipments, and they had also helped training these soldiers, which was later become the vital backbone of the later Vietnamese military, to fight the Japanese occupiers as well as the future wars. The name was changed to the Vietnam Liberation Army. Lastly, in 1950, it officially became the People's Army of Vietnam. Vo Nguyen Giap went on to become the first full general of the PAVN on the 28th of May 1948, and famous for leading the PAVN in victory over French forces at the Battle of Dien Bien Phu in 1954 and being in overall command against US-backed South Vietnam at the liberation of Saigon on the 30th of April 1975. On the 7th of January 1947, its first regiment, the 102nd Capital Regiment, was created for operations around Hanoi. Over the next 2 years, the 1st Division, the 308th Division, later well known as the Pioneer Division, was formed from the 88th Tu Vu Regiment and the 102nd Capital Regiment. By late 1950, the 308th Division had a full 3 infantry regiments, when it was supplemented by the 36th Regiment. At that time, the 308th Division was also backed by the 11th Battalion that later became the main force of the 312th Division. In late 1951, after launching 3 campaigns against 3 French strongpoints in the Red River Delta, the PAVN refocused on building up its ground forces further, with 5 new divisions, each of 10-15,000 men, created. The 304th Glory Division at Thanh Hoa, the 312th Victory Division in Vinh Phuc, the 316th Bong Lao Division in the Northwest Border Region, the 320th Delta Division in the North Red River Delta, the 325th Binh Tri Thien Division in Binh Tri Thien Province. Also in 1951, the 1st Artillery Division, the 351st Division was formed, and later, before Battle of Dien Bien Phu in 1954, for the first time in history, It was equipped with 24 captured 105 mm US howitzers supplied by the Chinese People's Liberation Army. The first 6 divisions became known as the original PAVN Steel and Iron divisions. In 1954, 4 of these divisions defeated the French Union forces at the Battle of Dien Bien Phu, ending 83 years of French rule in Indochina. Soon after the 1954 Geneva Accords, the 330th and 338th Divisions were formed by Southern Viet Minh members who had moved north in conformity with that agreement, and by 1955, 6 more divisions were formed: the 328th, 332nd and 350th in the north of the North Vietnam, the 305th and the 324th near the DMZ, and the 335 Division of soldiers repatriated from Laos. In 1957, the theaters of the war with the French were reorganized as the first 5 military regions. And in the next 2 years, several divisions were reduced to brigade size to meet the manpower requirements of collective farms by 1958. It